Hello and welcome to another beautiful day right here. It is a first day, and of course, we are here to bring you to speed with the headlines for the day, reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, Anthony Angokolo is here. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Ramsey.
Good morning, Michael
Good
Ekene.
morning,
It's good to have both of you right here today. I'm so glad that you were not held up in the traffic. Despite the traffic, I don't know. Traffic is returning to FCT. I don't know.
FCT is becoming more like Lagos.
Like Lagos,
traffic.
and sometimes I'll be surprised. But then, I think people are migrating.
Yeah, coming down to Abuja.
Coming down to FCT. They want to be with Baba. All right, let's take you to the headlines that we have for the day, beginning from the Punch newspaper. Above the header, electricity subsidy gobs 629 billion naira as discos generate 1.1 trillion naira. Details read on page 9. BDC agents reject new CBN licensing guidelines. Details read on page 20. Tinubu replaces Bill as FRSC boss, appoints Mohammed. Details read on page 7 of the Punch newspaper, and that takes us to the big story for the day. The kicker says our first anniversary. Tinubu directs 47 ministers to showcase scorecards. All right, one rider to that story. President plans low-key celebration. Ministers begin sectoral briefings today. Details read on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and this one says our federal government canvasses regional military force to counter coup threat. I take that again. This had to do with coup, so I need to take it again so you can hear very well. Federal government canvasses regional military force to counter coup threat. Federal government canvasses regional military force to counter coup threat. Details read. I need to take that severally so that it sinks.
And they also see it and understand.
Details read on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Guest dies during Lagos birthday celebration. Host is being held. Details read on page 4. That's unfortunate. Maybe sometimes you may not even know where some of the celebrants are coming from. You know, now people are hungry. So you put up an event and you see a lot of uninvited guests, especially when food is going to be involved. So sometimes some people may even come to your event and you don't know who invited them. But then as it is right now, the host is being held responsible.
Another thing that I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ramsey. Another thing that I want to point out from this headline is that, nowadays a lot of people are hustling for their daily bread. And most times we forget to take care of ourselves, our health and everything. So this guest may have come in looking all hale and hearty, attended the event, and it's quite unfortunate that this person passed. If maybe an autopsy is conducted, there might be other things that will be revealed, might not necessarily mean that something happened to the guest in that event and that was what led to his or her death.
I think for this autopsy is necessary so that the host will not be held responsible innocently.
Yes, maybe the person had already underlying. You hear of people that the person was dancing at an event and the person just slumped. It doesn't necessarily mean that maybe the person may have eaten or drank something, though those things happen, but this is quite unfortunate.
All right, finally from the Punch newspaper this morning, back to the headlines. Our reps want seized properties converted to government offices. Details read on page 7. Maybe we'll get to talk more about that later, and that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper. Over to you, Antonia.
All right, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper this morning. The big story that we have here, minimum wage talks. Labour cuts demand to 497,000 naira. Federal government's OPS offer 57,000 naira. I'll take that again. Minimum wage talks. Labour cuts demand to 497,000 naira. Federal government's OPS offer 57,000 naira. And we have two riders underneath that. Yesterday's talks end in stalemate. Uzodinma attends briefly as other governors shun minimum wage talks. Now, this is becoming interesting. From 615,000 naira by Labour, they've decided to come down to 497. And the federal government and OPS are offering 3,000 naira more. Initially, it was 54,000 naira, and they're just offering 3,000 naira more. in the coming days, let's see what happens. And that's on page 9. Edo Guba, Bishop Omede to lead Labour Party's campaign council for Akpata. That's on page 7. And on page 12 of the Vanguard, Obaseki signs 404 billion naira revised 2024 budget into law. And on page 9, EFCC, NBA move to tackle lawyers aiding criminals to launder illicit funds. And moving away from that, currency crisis, UK varsity sends Nigerians packing. That's on page 8. That's quite sad. And finally, from the Vanguard newspaper this morning, reps query contractors over abandoned projects after 85% of payments. That's on page 8. And that will be the size of the headlines from the Vanguard newspaper.
Thank you, Antonia. We'll move straight to the Daily Trust. Two headers on the Daily Trust. Why Tinubu's first year anniversary is low key. This is coming from the Information Minister. Details on page 5 of the Daily Trust. Zamfara lawmakers abducted daughter rescued after 17 months. On page 9 of the Daily Trust. That's a good news, sir. After 17 months, because she was rescued alive. And to the big story, CNG, no conversion centers in 27 states. We have 3 liners to that story. High cost, FS crisis, slow adoption, owners of 15.5 million vehicles in dilemma. FG partners Algon to reach 774 local government. The details of this story is on page 4 of the Daily Trust. We have few stories more that I will take. Kano government to sign amended Emirate bill as Assembly passes law today. Details of that story is on page 6 of the Guardian. Now, lastly, on the Daily Trust, Aviation College clears air on capacity constraints. You can get that story on page 19 of the Daily Trust. And that's all we have on the Daily Trust, sir. Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Michael, for those headlines. Let's go straight to the Guardian newspaper this morning, where I have this kicker saying 18-year-old construction work. All right, that's the kicker. Then the story says that from 9 billion naira in 2006, abandoned National Library to cost over 200 billion naira. All right, in 2006. It was 9 billion naira that they would have used to put the National Library in place. But then, right now, the abandoned National Library is costing over 200 billion naira. And that reminds me of how reckless people are when it comes to government property. The reckless abandon is something else when it comes to government property, because people mishandle government properties, vehicles. You go to offices, you see vehicles parked, you see them on the road, you see them very reckless, you see buildings not renovated, not maintained. Imagine National Library in a country, a sane country, as a matter of fact, where education is a priority. National Library should be something that should be up to date. We're talking about the dilapidation of the building. What about the materials, the books in the library? Can we now say they are updated when the building is dilapidated and abandoned? This is not a good one at all. They are saying 9 billion naira in 2006. We don't know if that is real, but now it is costing over 200 billion naira. Imagine the gap. All right, let's move away from there. Details read on page 6. If it's of interest to you, just go through that. And this one says CBN reduces duty FX rate 8th time in May as naira trade above 1,500 naira to $1. Lagos Correctional Center overstretched by 104%. Government is the one saying this, and details read on page 5. INEC knocks sick, that is SIEC's likens council poll to coronation of candidates. Details read on page 4. First year in office, federal government eyes a low-key ceremony, gives Tinubu pass mark. You are doing a low-key ceremony and you're giving someone a pass mark. Well, there is a little contradiction there. Maybe people who know this thing better will need to say something about that.
Let us know in the comment section.
No, let us know in the comment section. Yeah. All right, let us know in the comment section. This is all about Abakari right here on page 5 of this paper. It says Abakari gets bail after 27 months in detention. Tinubu Obasanjo seek regional integration to deepen democracy. Details read on page 4. And finally from here, federal government says negotiation is for minimum wage, not living wage. Offers 57,000 naira, and details read on page 6 of this paper. And of course, that is the Guardian newspaper. And that's going to be the size of the headlines for this morning. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about the federal government, the reps especially, saying abandoned and for seized properties should be used for government offices. What do you think about that? If you want to hear from us, join us as we return from the break. Don't go nowhere.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleketv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
We told you we're returning back with a big story on Outnumber this morning, and of course we are back. It's good to have you right there. Let's get into the big story immediately. As a matter of fact, reps want seized properties converted to government offices. I was thinking they should convert it to something that will benefit the public. Maybe because of the housing deficit that we have, they should just convert it to houses for people. Maybe convert it to where Nigerians will live, or maybe business center, or maybe ICT center, or something that will benefit the people. But now they are saying government offices. When we have a lot of government offices being abandoned, we just heard of a library which was supposed to have been renovated in 2006 for 9 billion naira, but still left until now, and it's costing a whopping 200 billion naira to get it renovated. Now, these properties, if they have been seized and turned into government offices, what is the assurance that it's going to be maintained and that it won't be worse than even what it was in the hands of the people that had it earlier before it was seized? Let's get to the business right now. I'm funny as it is right now. Reps want seized properties, landed properties, whatever it is. It could be building, it could be land, it could be vehicles, whatever they seize. Like you know who's the people who seize this thing, like the custom officers,
The
EFCC confiscating, like what's her name? This better Edu, all these people that are in EFCC nets, you know, they have a lot of their properties being confiscated.
Even the former minister.
Alison. Okay. Alison Madueke, you know, so much. So these properties, they are now saying, the reps are now saying it should be turned into government offices. But then, I think, there was a place that said it should be turned to public offices. What do you think about this? Do you think there is something else that could be better than this decision?
Okay, I totally agree with turning them into a place for public use, because when you confiscate a property, you're putting them, maybe trying them in court, and you found them guilty, and they are either serving jail term and their properties are confiscated. They're serving jail term, serving the punishment for whatever crime that they've committed. And I feel that these properties can actually be used for public or whatever, but for public use. But now, Nigeria, do we have the maintenance culture? It is not enough to say, let us make use of this, let these places be converted to offices, because in that story they mentioned that there are some offices that are in private buildings, and some of them are not being properly taken care of. So now, would there be constant maintenance of these buildings? If there is no maintenance, as good as, because just imagine the different 191 billion naira difference between 2006 and 2024 over the National Library. How much more other offices? This is just for government offices. This is just for government offices, the library. Let's take a look at universities, federal universities, state-owned universities. There are different parastatals that when you go to their buildings, you'd be like, why am I even going too far? The prison break that happened some weeks back, was it not because of the dilapidated? Yes, the one in Suleja. Was it not because of the dilapidated? Rain fell, the fence fell, and then some.
We heard in one of the papers this morning, prison in Lagos overstretched by 104%.
You
it's
can
in
imagine.
the paper this morning.
So if we have all of these things, if we have, why are we not putting them to use? Why are we not implementing them? The truth of the matter is that sometimes the problems that we have in Nigeria, we know the solution. It's just that the implementation is difficult.
Very difficult.
All right, let me get to you, Michael. As it is, a member of the House representing Oredo Federal Constituency in Edo State, talking about Esosa now, has said, well, there are some government offices, all right, that are operating from rented apartments. Okay, and that amazed me when I saw that. And he was agitating that such properties can be converted into offices. What do you think about that? Is that reason enough? And are you surprised to hear that federal government offices, okay, are operating from rented buildings?
Rented buildings. Well, it is astonishing to know that federal government agencies rented buildings. Meanwhile, we have very, very many abandoned buildings confiscated by the EFCC, the DSS, so many security agencies over the years. And he cited in 2017 when the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission recovered 180 billion from confiscated buildings, from governments, unscrupulous officials who embezzled money, and they had to recover it. It saved Nigeria 180 billion. That's on a positive note. If that is the case right now, then it's a noteworthy call and motion. Because, for instance, we have so many abandoned buildings in the FCT. Let's say, for instance, if you're moving across the cities, move to Maitama, move to Wuse 2, you see some buildings that we all know that it is inhabited by cockroaches and rats. And it's very funny.
So many.
I mean, you wonder what's happening. If it's confiscated, why not make that, lease it out to government agencies? I mean, save us that money and positively inject that money into the economy. It can cushion the effect of
just like we get Abacha's loot
almost
every year.
Absolutely. Almost every year. Even though we don't know where some of those
things are coming from.
And where they are going to.
And this former minister, Alice Oweleke, I heard that most times you just hear that they are still recovering money from the house. That means there were some things that were buried
properties still being recovered.
Corruption has eaten deep into Nigeria, and when one talks about these things, a lot of things, it's more like opening a can of worms.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of things just keep coming up on a day-to-day basis.
Yes. So when Mr. Sosa, representing Oredo Federal Constituency, moved that motion for government to recover, confiscated properties and lands and change that into, give that to some government agencies that are on rented. I mean, if they're on rented basis, that means government pays for them, right?
Pays for the rent.
Imagine. So why not take that money and then improve, the lives and welfare of the citizenry, or even those that work for the government? Like these people are agitating for
the minimum wage to be raised.
Into that. And then,
Ramsey, when I saw that headline, it was quite. So all the talks yesterday, it was just 3,000 naira increment.
Yeah.
That's the thing is even turning. It's becoming more. It's becoming like a joke. As if someone is not taking someone seriously.
And the NLC more like, okay, you have come again. Let me add 3K.
Let me add 3K.
Do you understand?
What are they selling? Is it Maggi and pepper?
That's why I said it's becoming quite interesting.
These infinitesimal additions is becoming unscrupulous to me. I'll use that big word, because if the government wants to better the lives the lives of the citizenry, just pay them 100,000. How much are politicians earning? Let's talk about that. The Jeeps,
and how
the
much
houses
are
they're giving.
embezzling?
So they have allowances, medical allowances.
Why are you even talking about
clothing
politicians
allowances,
themselves?
health allowances,
Talk about their cooks.
allowances.
Talk about their cooks, people who shine their shoes.
I know a senator whose cook is feeding fat. He's built a house in his village. He has a car. He's feeding fat. His belly is protruding. He's telling me, bro, this was good. Oh, he's not educated. He's not educated, but he's the chef. So how come people who are educated working for the government are clamoring for an infinitesimal amount?
Skill is still important. As it is, I don't know. When it comes to issues like this, sometimes you get stranded. You
And-
don't
and-
even know what to say anymore,
then-
because this
and
thing
then if
is
someone
becoming
asks
like
you-
someone is happy seeing other people, suffering. I don't know.
Sometimes, if you're a patriotic Nigerian, you wonder why you're patriotic Nigerian. Someone asks, "Are you from Nigeria?" You want to say,
And some of these little things contribute to the high
Corruption.
rise of corruption
That's what it
and,
is.
of course, crime in the society.
Absolutely.
Because everyone will think, well, this is an opportunity. Let me just do whatever I can do
Yeah.
within that space of time.
It's my
before
turn,
It's
so
my
let me,
turn.
make
they
use
call
of it.
the national cake thing. But then I think this is the size of the review for this morning, because if we want to talk about this, time will fail us to do all of that. But then the bottom line is this. Let's call a spade a spade. Well, if this money or whatever property that is being confiscated, being seized by the federal government, is being used properly, such that even the average man will feel the impact of it, it's going to be better. But then I don't expect the federal government to go and function in rented offices if it is really a government office, and if they are real government officials. If things like that is happening, I don't think it is good to hear. All right, well, we're waiting for the celebration that is forthcoming. 1 year, first 1 year in office, to be celebrated in low key. I don't want to talk more about that. All right, just get to the comment section and drop something there. Could that be part of the reason why this
I
negotiation?
thought you know what to say anything about it.
I'm being tempted to say something, but then don't worry. Those properties that is being abandoned, okay, all the properties that have been abandoned in FCT, the estates, you
The
come to
landed properties.
where cockroaches and rats are inhabiting. Please, federal government, do something for the people. Okay, make it available to the people, even if it is to sublet it or to lease it out, or maybe to just make people pay for it gradually. Whatever they would do,
Yeah.
it will be fine, because some persons will not come for that anymore, because it is being bought or built by stolen property. Don't tell anyone what I said.
I won't tell.
All right, thank you very much, Antonia. Thank you very much, Michael. It's a beautiful day. We'll come on your way again, same time, same station tomorrow. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye for now. My name is Ramsey Enoch.